All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into a question that really gets to the heart of who we are. Do we find our true strength by going it all alone, or is it found when we reach out to others? Let's figure it out.
I mean, really think about it. It's a question that we all bump up against, right? We're kind of taught that to be strong, you have to be totally independent. But is that the full picture? Does standing on your own 2 feet mean you can never ever lean on somebody else? You know the story. From the time we're kids, we're sold this idea of the lone hero, the self-made success story. And look, it's a really powerful narrative. But today, we're gonna pull back the curtain on that idea and really dig into what it actually means to be strong.
Okay, so let's start by really digging into this whole ideal of self-reliance. What is it exactly, and why are we so drawn to it?
So what does that really mean?
Well, at its core, self-reliance is about being your own anchor. It's about looking at all the challenges life throws at you, whether it's about your job, your money, or just your own emotional state, and believing that you and you alone have what it takes to get through it.
And this right here just perfectly captures the emotional rush of it. I mean, you can feel it in Ahmed's words. When you build something, when you succeed completely on your own terms, that win feels different. It's all yours. And that is an incredible feeling.
And get this, the data is pretty compelling. Some studies show that people who really see themselves as self-reliant can actually feel up to 15% less anxiety when they're facing a tough situation. That sense of control, that feeling of, I've got this, it acts like a kind of psychological armor. But as we're about to see, that armor can get pretty heavy. So now, let's completely flip the coin. Let's talk about the other side. We're gonna reframe this idea of asking for help, not as a sign of weakness, but as a totally different and maybe even braver kind of strength. And this is the key. It's all about a shift in perspective. Asking for help isn't about giving up. It's about being self-aware enough to know where your own edges are and having the guts to be vulnerable. It's a strategic move, you know? It comes from a place of wisdom, not weakness. And the payoff for that courage? It's huge. Just look at this number. A 20% lower risk of depression for people who actively reach out for support. That's not just a small difference. Sharing that weight isn't just a nice idea. It's actively protecting your mental health. Nora's story is the perfect example of this in action. For her, getting guidance wasn't a failure. It was just a smart tool to help her get where she wanted to go. Asking for help wasn't her last resort. It was a powerful first step forward. Okay, so we've got these two powerful mindsets on the table. Let's put them in the ring, side by side, and see how they really stack up in the parts of our lives that matter most. So when it comes to mental health, it's this fascinating balancing act. Going it alone, it can make you feel incredibly confident, sure. But if that's your only move, you're heading straight for burnout and loneliness. On the flip side, asking for help is like a pressure release valve. But if you lean on it too much, you might start to doubt your own ability to handle things. And what about our relationships with other people? Being super independent can be inspiring to watch, no doubt, but it can also put up a wall. If you never let anyone in, it can feel like you don't trust them. But asking for help, that's one of the fastest ways to build real trust and connection. It basically says, I see you and I value you. The only danger is if it becomes a one-way street, which can wear out even the best of friends. Okay, so that's the theory. But what does all this look like for real people living real lives? Let's get into a couple of stories that show just how complex this choice can be.
First up, let's talk about Lila. She found herself in a tough spot and decided to forge her own path, a path of total self-reliance.
And she did it. She absolutely succeeded. And she says it gave her this incredible, unparalleled confidence. But, and this is a really big but, listen to that second part. Even with all that success, she admits there was a cost. She missed that human, emotional connection. It just shows you there are two sides to every coin. All right, now let's turn to Muhammad. He was facing a crisis of his own, and he made a totally different choice. He decided to ask for help, and Muhammad's story just turns that whole lone hero idea on its head. He started out thinking that asking for help was a weakness, but he realized it was the exact opposite.
It was an act of courage. And that single act didn't end his story. It was the very thing that let him start a new one. So where does all this leave us? We've seen the good and the bad of both paths. And the big takeaway here isn't that you have to pick a side. It's that we need to redefine what strength even is. It's not about being one thing or the other. It's about knowing when to be which.
And this right here, this is really the whole point. True strength isn't just being stubbornly independent, and it isn't being helplessly dependent either. It's wisdom. It's the wisdom to look at a situation clearly and choose the right tool for that specific job.
So you might be thinking, okay, that's great, but how do I actually do that? Well, here's a pretty simple framework you can use. First, just be honest and assess the challenge. Do I have what it takes for this? Second, give it a real shot. Try to tackle it yourself first. That builds up that self-reliance muscle. But third, and this is the most important part, know when you're in over your head. The moment you feel overwhelmed, call for backup. No hesitation, no shame. That's the balance.
So we want to leave you with this question to think about. What's one challenge you're facing in your life right now where maybe you could try a different approach? Are you defaulting to a have to do this alone when a little help could change everything? Or are you maybe reaching out before you've even tested your own limits? The real power, as we've seen, is knowing you have a choice.